It was my birthday, a day I had quietly hoped would finally feel special after years of routine and compromise. I arrived at the party a little late, expecting laughter, candles, and familiar voices calling my name. Instead, the moment I stepped inside, time seemed to slow. In the center of the room, beneath warm lights and careless music, my wife was sitting on another man's lap. Not awkwardly, not apologetically, but comfortably, laughing as if nothing else in the world mattered. People around them pretended not to notice, gripping their drinks and avoiding eye contact. No one saw me yet. I stood near the entrance, watching my marriage unravel without a single word spoken. Strangely, I didn't feel rage or panic. I felt calm, a deep, unsettling calm that comes when denial finally disappears. In that moment, I understood yelling would change nothing, begging would destroy my dignity, and making a scene would only entertain people who didn't deserve it. I took a slow breath, stepped forward into the room, and accepted that whatever I did next would define not only this night, but the rest of my life forever. I walked further into the room slowly, my footsteps steady despite the music still playing. One by one, people began to notice the shift in the atmosphere. Conversations softened, laughter faded, and a few guests glanced nervously in my direction. Calm draws attention when chaos is expected. My wife still hadn't noticed me. She was too absorbed in the moment, too confident that nothing could interrupt her comfort. I stopped only a few feet away. When she finally looked up and saw me, the smile vanished instantly from her face. Her body stiffened, and the man beneath her froze, suddenly realizing where he was sitting. All eyes turned toward me, waiting for shouting, accusations, or anger. I gave them none. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't ask questions. I didn't accuse anyone. I simply stood there, hands relaxed, face calm, eyes steady. The silence grew heavier by the second, pressing against everyone in the room. In that silence, people understood something irreversible was happening. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a joke. This was an ending arriving quietly, without permission and without drama. My wife stood up quickly, knocking her chair backward as she called my name, as if saying it might rewind time. The man stepped away immediately, avoiding eye contact, suddenly aware he didn't belong anywhere near this moment. Guests watched closely now, holding their breath. I reached into my pocket calmly and took out my phone. That small action alone tightened the room. I placed the phone face down on the table beside the untouched birthday cake. I didn't explain what it was. I didn't need to. Then I looked around and said quietly, "You don't need to stop the party." My voice didn't shake. I picked up the cake knife, cut myself one small slice, and placed it neatly on a napkin. Gasps rippled through the room. No one laughed. No one spoke. My wife looked like she might collapse where she stood. That was the moment everyone realized this wasn't drama or revenge. It was final. Calm had replaced anger, and certainty had replaced emotion. I lifted the plate, nodded once, and turned away, leaving the silence to do what shouting never could. As I walked toward the exit, my wife rushed after me, her heels echoing sharply against the floor. She grabbed my arm, begging me not to do this here, not in front of everyone. I gently removed her hand, not angrily but decisively. I told her this was exactly the place for it, because this was where the disrespect happened. She tried to explain, saying it was a joke, a mistake, too much to drink, words spilling over each other in panic. I looked at her and said one sentence that stopped her completely. "You didn't forget my birthday. You forgot me." The words hung in the air, heavier than any insult. Her face crumpled as reality settled in. Nearby guests pretended not to listen, but everyone heard it. I didn't wait for her response. Answers don't matter once dignity is gone. I turned and walked out into the night, carrying a small plate of cake, leaving behind balloons, music, and a celebration that would forever be remembered for the moment it ended instead. Outside, the cool night air felt grounding, almost cleansing. My phone buzzed constantly with calls, messages, and apologies stacking faster than I cared to read them. I didn't reply to any of it. Silence felt right. Over the next few days, the story spread quickly. Friends reached out, shocked not only by what she had done, but by how I handled it. They expected anger, shouting, or chaos. What they saw instead was restraint. The phone I left behind spoke louder than words ever could. It contained proof of behavior that hadn't started that night. The man from the party disappeared from her life almost immediately, unwilling to face consequences. She tried to talk, to explain, to rebuild what had broken in, front of everyone. But explanations after public humiliation don't rebuild trust. They only explain how it was destroyed. I wasn't angry anymore. I was finished negotiating my self-respect. That calm decision changed everything that followed. When we finally spoke privately, there were no raised voices and no accusations, only acceptance. She admitted she never expected me to react that way. She thought I would yell, beg, or eventually forgive. Silence frightened her more than anger ever could. I told her the birthday wasn't the reason I left. It was simply the moment everything became impossible to ignore. Birthdays mark time, and that one marked the end of pretending. She cried, saying she ruined everything. I told her things fall apart long before they collapse in public. That night only made it visible. Calm doesn't mean weak. Calm means resolved. I wasn't punishing her. I was protecting myself. For the first time in years, I felt steady. The chaos she expected never came, and that absence made the truth undeniable. Some endings don't explode. They settle quietly and permanently. People often believe strength is loud, filled with shouting and dramatic gestures. It isn't. Strength is choosing dignity when humiliation is offered freely. That night, I didn't ruin my birthday. I reclaimed it. I didn't fight for attention or explanations. I walked away with clarity. Silence didn't make me small. It made the truth impossible to ignore. Walking away without raising my voice was the strongest decision I had ever made. It showed me that respect begins with self-respect. And once that is chosen, everything else becomes clear. I stopped measuring my worth by someone else's behavior and started measuring it by my own response. That shift changed how I saw the past and how I approached the future. Calm decisions create permanent boundaries, and boundaries, once set, protect peace. I walked into my own birthday party and saw my wife sitting on another man's lap. I didn't yell, I didn't beg, I didn't make a scene. I stayed calm and chose myself. What I did next shocked everyone, not because it was dramatic, but because it was final. That birthday didn't end with candles or wishes. It ended with clarity. And clarity is a gift many people never receive. I learned that night that silence can speak louder than anger, and dignity can stop a room faster than shouting ever could. The celebration ended, but something better began. I walked away knowing exactly who I was and what I deserved. Sometimes the most powerful moment in a person's life is the one where they say nothing at all and mean it completely.